I think what everybody's chasing now is a general system that's useful to everybody. So, okay, so if that's not, that can plateau, right?
I think that dream is actually kind of dying. As you talked about with the specialized models, where it's like, and multimodal is often like video generation is a totally different thing.
That dream is kind of dying is a big statement. Because I don't know if it's dying. I don't know if if you ask the actual frontier lab people, they're still chasing it, right?
I do think they are still rushing to get the next model out, which will be much better than much is not a relative term, but will be better than the previous one. And I can't see them slowing down. I just think the gains will be made or felt more through not only scaling the model, but now fine. So I feel like there's a lot of tech debt. It's like, well, let's just put the better model in there and better model and better model. And now people are okay. Let's also at the same time improve everything around it too, like like the engineering of the context and inference scaling. And the big labs will still keep doing that, and now also the smaller labs will catch up to that because now it's just like they are hiring more. There will be more people. LLMs. It's kind of like like a circle. They also make them more productive, and it's just it's like amplify. I think what we can expect is amplification, but not like a change of like a paradigm change. I don't think that is true, but everything will be just amplified and amplified and amplified, and I can see that continuing for a long time.
Yeah, I guess my statement with the dream is dying depends on exactly what you think it's going to be doing. Like Claude Code is a general model that can do a lot of things, but it's not like necessarily like it depends a lot on integrations and other things. Like I bet Claude Code could do a fairly good job of doing your email, and the hardest part is figuring out how to give the information to it and how to get it to be able to send your emails and stuff like this. But that's just kind of like I think it goes back to like what is the one model to rule everything ethos, which is just like a thing in the cloud that handles your entire digital life and is way smarter than everybody. It's like it's operating in a an interesting leap of faith to go from Claude Code becomes that, which it like in some ways is there's some avenues for that, but I do think that like the rhetoric of the industry is a little bit different.
I think the immediate also thing we will feel next as a normal person using LLMs is will probably be related to something like also trivial, like making figures. Right now, LLMs are terrible at making figures. Is it because we are getting served the cheap models with very less, or like lesser inference compute than behind the scenes? Maybe some like there are some cranks we can already get better figures. But if you ask today, I don't know, draw a flow chart of XYZ, it's most of the time terrible. And it is kind of like a very simple task for a human. I think it's almost easier sometimes to draw something than to write something.
Yeah, the multimodal understanding does feel like something that is odd that it's not better solved.
I think we're not saying one actually obvious thing that we're not actually realizing that's a gigantic thing that's hard to measure, which is making all of human knowledge accessible to the entire world. Like one of the things that I think is hard to articulate, but there's just a huge difference between Google search and an LLM. Like I feel like I can basically ask an LLM anything and get an answer. And it's doing less and less and less hallucination. And that means understanding my own life, figuring out a career trajectory, figuring out how to solve the problems all around me, learn about anything through human history. That like I feel like nobody's really talking about that because they just immediately take it for granted that it's just, this is awesome. That's why everybody's using it, is because you get answers for stuff. And like the impact of that across time, like think about, this is not just in the United States, it's all across the world, like kids throughout the world being able to learn these ideas, like the impact that has across time is probably, that's where the real like talking about GDP, it won't be like a leap, it'll be, that's how we get to Mars, that's how we build these things, that's how we have a million new open AIs, all the kind of innovation that happens from there. And that's just this quiet force that permeates everything, right? Human knowledge.
I do agree with you, and in a sense, it makes knowledge more accessible. But it also, I think, depends on what the topic is. For something like math, in a sense, you can ask it questions, it answers. But if you want to learn a topic from scratch, I think that again, like we talked about this earlier, I think the sweet spot is, I mean, there are really good math textbooks where someone laid it out linearly, and that is like a, let's say, proven strategy to learn this topic. And it does make sense if you start from zero to ramp up to get like a information dense text to soak it up, but then you use the LLM to make infinite exercises. Like you have problems in a certain area or have questions, something's uncertain, or like you are uncertain about certain things, you ask it to generate example problems, you solve them, and you have questions, and then maybe you need more background knowledge, and you ask it to generate that. And I think, but then it won't give you anything, let's say, that is not in the textbook. It's just packaging it differently, if that makes sense. But then there are things I feel like where it also adds value in a more, I mean, timely sense, where there is no good alternative besides a human doing it on the fly. For example, if you, I don't know, like, let's say you're planning to go to Disneyland and you try to figure out which tickets to buy for which park when, well, there is no textbook on that. There is no information dense resource on that. There's only the sparse internet. And then there is a lot of value in the LLM. You just ask it, you have the constraints. I'm traveling these and these days. I want to go there and there. Please figure out what I need, when, and from where, and what it costs and stuff like that. And it is very customized on the fly package. And then this is like one of the 1,000 examples. And exercise personalization is essentially like pulling information from the sparse internet, the non-information dense thing where there's no better version that exists. It just doesn't exist. You make it from scratch almost.
And if it does exist, it's full of, speaking of Disney World, like full of, what would you call it, ad slop? Like it's impossible. Here, you go any city in the world. What are the top 10 things to do? LLM is just way better to ask.